Are you okay? What's the matter?
Nobody in the Grand Rosegate Hotel expected to hear a young woman crying that early in the morning. Yet the sound echoed painfully through the marble hallway, soft at first, then breaking into heavy sobs. And that was the moment he walked out of the elevator. Elias Carter, young billionaire, owner of Carter Heights Group, and the silent owner of Rosegate Hotel, froze mid-step. The man who usually commanded boardrooms, intimidated investors, and changed the fate of companies with a single decision, suddenly felt his heart twist. Because right there, standing beside a stack of polished room service trays, was a hotel cook, young, beautiful, shaking, tears falling down her cheeks while she held a small phone to her ear. Her name, he later learned, was Maya Thompson. But at that moment, all he saw was a woman in pain. "Maya, please just calm down," a voice snapped over the phone, clearly the hotel manager. "You burnt an entire batch of meals during breakfast rush. Do you know how much that cost us?" Maya pressed a trembling hand against her forehead. I'm sorry, sir. I was thinking about my mom at the hospital and—" "That's not my problem," he growled. "Prepare your things, you're fired." The call ended. Maya's breath broke. She hugged herself, sliding slowly down the wall until she sat on the shiny floor, shoulders shaking. Elias didn't move. For the first time in years, the world felt still, like the entire hallway had paused just to watch her fall apart. He stepped forward quietly, stopping a few feet away. "Are you okay?" he asked. She startled and looked up. Her eyes were red, her cheeks streaked with tears, and strands of curly dark hair clung to her face. She quickly wiped her hands on her apron, even though it was stained from the morning's cooking rush. "I'm fine," she whispered, embarrassed. "I'm so sorry you had to see this. I shouldn't be crying here, I just—" Her voice cracked again. "I'm losing my job, and my mother is in the hospital. I can't afford any of this." Elias' jaw tightened. The hotel manager fired her for one mistake, without even listening, without knowing the story. He crouched beside her gently. "What happened exactly?" he asked. She sniffed. "I was making a tray of stews and sauces for breakfast service. Everything was fine until a nurse called me about my mom's condition. I panicked. I left the pots for too long. The food got burnt and now they've decided I'm careless." She squeezed her eyes shut. "I'm really not careless. I'm just scared." Elias shouldn't have cared this much. She was a staff member. He was the unseen owner. He never involved himself directly in matters like this. But something about her broke through the layers of distance he kept from everyone. "Maya," he said softly, "has anyone talked to the general manager or HR? Maybe they could." "They already made up their minds," she whispered. "Mr. Dalton said I should prepare to leave after my shift. He said burnt food means I'm irresponsible." She looked down at her apron, tugging at the frayed edges. "I work double shifts. I try so hard, but today everything collapsed." Her voice faded into silence. He watched her fingers, small, shaking, roughened by long hours in the kitchen. He watched her eyes, filled with worry instead of hope. She looked like someone carrying the weight of the world on her back with no one to lean on. Elias took a slow breath. It was time to do something he rarely did. Step out from behind the curtain and act not as a billionaire, not as the owner, but as a human being. "Maya," he said carefully, "don't pack your things yet, please." She frowned, confused. "Why?" Before he could answer, the elevator doors opened again, and out walked Mr. Dalton, the hotel manager, a tall, stiff man with a clipboard tucked under one arm. His eyes widened when he saw Maya sitting on the floor. Then he saw Elias. Relief spread across his face, relief mixed with pride. "Ah, Mr. Carter, perfect timing. I was just coming to address a staff issue. One of our cooks, this girl, burnt an entire batch of meals. Very unprofessional. But don't worry, sir, I've already handled it. She's fired." Elias stood slowly. The air in the hallway shifted. Dalton didn't know. He had no idea who he was talking to. Elias rarely visited the hotel in person, and when he did, he usually wore simple clothing, blending in so he could observe the place without attention. But right now, something cold flashed in the billionaire's eyes. Maya stood up quickly and bowed her head. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to bring any problems." Dalton cut her off. "Enough. Go gather your belongings. You're done here. We can't have emotional people ruining our kitchen." Elias' voice sliced through the hallway like a blade. "Dalton," he said, calm but sharp, "did you just fire her without a proper investigation?" The manager straightened, proud of himself. "Of course. I run a tight operation. One mistake is too many." "One mistake," Elias repeated slowly. "No questions, no support, not even a warning." Dalton blinked, unsure why this stranger cared so much. "Sir, if you knew how expensive the loss was, you'd understand. I've been in this business for years. Emotional staff are liabilities." Maya looked from one to the other, confused. Why was this well-dressed young man defending her? Elias took a step closer to Dalton. And Dalton finally noticed something that wiped the arrogance off his face. The name badge on the stranger's suit. Elias Carter, Executive Director. He froze. His lips parted, his eyes widened. The clipboard nearly fell from his hands. Suddenly, the young woman he'd humiliated. The mistake he thought he had corrected. The staff member he believed was beneath notice. Was standing beside the hotel's owner. Elias watched recognition dawn on him, then whispered coldly, "We need to talk about your management style." Dalton swallowed hard. Maya's heart pounded. Why was this powerful man standing up for her? Why did he look so angry on her behalf? And why, just for a moment, did it look like her entire life was about to change? The elevator chimed again. Footsteps rushed toward them. A hotel security guard stumbled out, panting. "Mr. Carter," the guard shouted, "you need to come with me immediately. It's about Maya's mother. There's been a call from the hospital." Maya gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. What happened?" she whispered. The guard hesitated, breathless. "Something serious. They said it's urgent." Elias turned to Maya, concern flooding his eyes. But before he could speak, the guard added one sentence that froze the hallway in terror. "They said, your mother might not make it through the afternoon." For a moment, Maya couldn't breathe. The hallway felt like it was spinning. The soft hotel lights blurred, voices faded. And all she could hear was the single sentence echoing in her mind. "Your mother might not make it through the afternoon." Her knees weakened, and she reached for the wall to steady herself. Elias stepped forward immediately. "Maya, look at me," he said gently. "We'll go to the hospital right now." Dalton, the manager who only moments ago wanted her gone, suddenly looked uncomfortable. "Well, if it's an emergency, perhaps she can leave for the day." Elias shot him a glare so sharp that Dalton stopped speaking mid-sentence. The guard continued nervously. "The nurse said she's asking for you. They tried your phone, but it was switched off during your shift, so they called the hotel line." Maya wiped her eyes quickly. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I can't lose her. She's all I have left. Please, I need to get there." Elias nodded firmly. "You will come with me." The way he said it, steady, commanding, made something tighten in her chest. She barely knew who he was, but in that moment, his voice felt like the only solid thing she could hold on to. "Sir, I can call a taxi," the guard offered. "No," Elias interrupted. "I'm driving her." The guard blinked. Dalton blinked harder. Maya's eyes widened. No, sir. You don't have to trouble yourself for me." "It's not trouble," he replied. "Let's go." He didn't wait for approval. He just turned, motioning for her to follow. And somehow her legs moved before her mind caught up. As they stepped into the elevator, Maya swallowed hard, trying not to cry again. Elias pressed the button for the underground parking lot. She stood stiffly beside him, wiping tears from her cheeks with the back of her hand. She felt small and broken, standing next to a man who looked like he had never struggled a day in his life. But his voice softened. "Is your mother's condition very serious?" Maya nodded. "She's been battling kidney failure. The doctor said she needs treatment soon. I'm all she has. I work overtime to keep her bills paid, but—" her words caught in her throat. "It's getting harder every day." Elias listened quietly. Not like someone pretending to care. Not like a boss monitoring an employee. But like someone who genuinely saw her. "And you still came to work today?" he asked. She gave a small, broken laugh. "If I don't work, we don't eat. The hospital bills won't stop because I'm tired." The elevator doors opened. The two walked into the quiet parking lot. Elias led her toward a sleek black Lexus parked near the exit. Maya froze, realizing the car must be his. "This is your car," she whispered. He nodded. "Get in. You're not taking public transport in your condition." She hesitated, clutching her apron. "Sir, you barely know me." Elias looked at her with a calm, steady expression. "You're a human being in distress. That's all I need to know." Her throat tightened again, but she got into the passenger seat. Once they were both inside, Elias pulled out smoothly, driving with surprising gentleness. Maya stared out the window, watching Lagos rush by, markets, Danfo buses, rushing crowds, while her thoughts drowned her. She whispered, "I don't know what I'll do if she—" her voice trembled. "She's the only family I have." Elias tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Something inside him shifted, a protectiveness he didn't recognize. "You won't face this alone," he murmured. She turned her head slowly. "Why are you helping me?" He inhaled deeply. Because someone should, and clearly no one else in that hotel cared enough to listen. Her eyes softened just a little. After a long moment she asked quietly, "Are you really the owner?" "Yes," he replied, "though I don't parade it." She looked down at her hands. "If I had known, I wouldn't have cried in the hallway like that." "You don't have to apologize for being human," he said. Silence filled the car, but not the uncomfortable kind. They arrived at the hospital and Maya rushed in, Elias following close behind. Nurses recognized her immediately and guided her to a room where her mother lay, weak, pale, but conscious. "Maya," her mother whispered. "Mom," Maya sobbed, taking her hand. I'm here." The nurse explained softly, "She's stable for now, but her condition is worsening. She'll need another round of treatment soon." Maya nodded, but her heart squeezed. Treatment meant money. Money meant more work, more debt, more pressure. Her mother's gaze moved from Maya to Elias. Who is this gentleman?" Maya wiped her face. "He's a colleague. He helped me get here." Her mother smiled faintly. "Then you are a blessing, sir." Elias bowed his head respectfully. "I'm just glad she reached you in time." But as the doctor continued explaining the treatment costs, Maya's hands trembled. She didn't have the money. Her salary barely covered the basics, and if she was fired, everything would crumble. Elias saw the fear in her eyes, and at that moment a thought struck him, unexpected, unreasonable, but strong. He couldn't let her drown. After the doctor finished, Maya stepped outside to catch her breath. Elias followed her, stopping just outside the room. "Maya," he said. She turned to him slowly. "You won't be fired." She looked at him confused. "But Mr. Dalton." "Dalton doesn't make final decisions." His voice hardened. "Return to work when you're ready. Your job is safe." Her eyes widened, filling with gratitude. "Thank you, sir. I don't know how to repay you." "You don't owe me anything," he replied. "Just focus on your mother." But before he could say more, a nurse rushed toward them again. "Maya, there's a complication. We need you and your next of kin immediately." Her heart dropped. "My next of kin," Maya whispered, but I don't have anyone else. The nurse's eyes moved to Elias. Sir, are you with her? He nodded instinctively. Then come, she needs support now. Maya felt her chest tighten. Why did everything suddenly feel like it was spinning faster than she could control? And more importantly, why was this powerful young billionaire suddenly becoming the person standing beside her in every crisis? The hospital corridor felt colder than before. Machines beeped in distant rooms, nurses hurried past, and Maya's heartbeat thudded loudly in her ears as she and Elias followed the nurse toward the emergency section. What happened? Maya asked, struggling to keep her voice steady. There was a sudden drop in her blood pressure, the nurse explained briskly. The doctor is trying to stabilize her, but she asked repeatedly for her daughter. Maya clutched her chest, fighting panic. Please let her be okay. Elias walked beside her, calm on the outside but internally unsettled. He wasn't used to this kind of fear, not for business, not for money, but for someone else's pain. It was a strange feeling, heavy and unfamiliar, yet he couldn't bring himself to walk away. The nurse opened the emergency room door, and Maya rushed to her mother's bedside. The older woman looked frailer than before, her breathing shallow. Mom, I'm here, Maya whispered, holding her hand. Please stay with me, please. Her mother opened her eyes weakly. My daughter, don't cry. A doctor approached them patiently. We've stabilized her for the moment, but she needs the next procedure quickly. You will have to meet the financial obligation sooner than expected. Maya stiffened. How much? The doctor handed her a printout. She stared at the amount, her hands trembling so violently that the paper shook. That figure represented several months of salary, even if she worked every day without rest. And now she had no idea if she even had a job to return to tomorrow. Her breath caught in her throat. I can't afford this, she whispered. Not now. Her mother reached out weakly. Maya, don't worry about me. You've done enough if it's my time. Don't say that, Maya cried. Please don't say that. Elias stepped closer, his voice steady. Doctor, can Maya sign and sort the payments later? The doctor hesitated. Her mother needs treatment urgently if we delay too long. He didn't finish the sentence. Elias could see Maya collapse under the weight of the moment. Her shoulders shook, her feet unsteady. Everything in her world was crumbling at once. He gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Maya, look at me. She lifted her teary eyes. You are not alone in this, not anymore. Her brows pinched in confusion. What do you mean? Before he could answer, a loud voice called from the hallway. There you are, Maya. Both turned to see a woman in her late 40s, Aunt Linda, Maya's only relative aside from her mother. She stormed into the room, her expression twisted in irritation rather than concern. What is going on? Linda demanded. The nurse called me. Why am I hearing your mother is getting worse? Maya swallowed hard. Aunt Linda, she needs surgery. They need payment. Linda rolled her eyes dramatically, crossing her arms. Payment? Again? Maya, you know I have my own children to look after. I told you from the beginning you're on your own with your mother. Don't start expecting me to carry your load. Maya's face crumpled. I'm not asking you for anything. I just needed family here. Well, I'm here now, Linda snapped. But I can't help you financially. You should have saved better instead of wasting your life in that kitchen job. Elias' jaw tightened. He stepped between Maya and the woman, his calm voice hiding the storm behind his eyes. Ma'am, he said, this is not the time for blame. Linda eyed him suspiciously. Who are you? Another one of her friends from that hotel job. Maya whispered, Aunt Linda, please, not now. But Linda wasn't done. If the hospital wants money, go and find someone who can help you. I'm not a charity organization. The harshness of her words sliced through Maya's heart. She lowered her head, tears dripping freely. For a moment, she looked like she couldn't even stand. Elias had never witnessed someone being treated so cruelly at such a vulnerable time. It ignited something in him, something fierce. "That's enough," he said quietly, but the authority in his tone made the entire room fall silent. "She doesn't need attacks, she needs support." Linda scoffed. "Support? And who exactly is going to support her? You?" Elias held her gaze unflinching. "If I have to, yes." Maya's head snapped upward. Linda raised an eyebrow. "And what is your relationship with her?" Before Maya could answer, her mother's weak voice broke the tension. "Maya," she whispered, "who is this young man?" Maya turned toward her mother, her voice trembling. He's someone who helped me, someone who's been kind." Her mother's eyes softened. "Young man, thank you for standing by my child." Elias bowed his head respectfully. "It's an honor, ma'am." The doctor approached them again, clearing his throat. "We need a decision. Time is limited." Linda shrugged heartlessly. "Well, don't look at me. I told you I can't help." Maya covered her face with her palms. She felt like the ground under her feet was breaking apart. But then a warm hand gently lowered her hands. "Elias." He spoke softly, so only she could hear. "Let me help." She froze. "What? No, no, sir, you've done enough. I can't accept that. You don't even know me." "I don't have to know everything about you to care," he said, looking into her eyes. "Right now, what matters is saving your mother. Let me do this." She shook her head repeatedly. "I can't let you spend that kind of money on me. It's too much." "It's not too much if it keeps you from breaking," he replied gently, "and if it saves someone's life." Tears streamed down her face, this time from shock rather than despair. "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you doing this for me?" He opened his mouth to answer, but the emergency alarm sounded loudly from the operating room. A nurse rushed out. "We're losing her. We need your authorization now." Maya gasped, clutching her chest. Elias stepped forward, his voice firm and unwavering. "Prepare the surgery. I'll handle everything." The medical team sprang into action, wheeling her mother toward the surgical unit. Maya stood frozen, breathing hard, overwhelmed. Elias touched her shoulder again. "Maya, your mother will get the surgery, I promise." She turned to him slowly, eyes trembling, lips shaking, trying to understand what kind of man steps into a stranger's life like this with such strength and compassion. But before she could speak, Linda scoffed loudly, shaking her head. "Well, this is unbelievable. A billionaire savior dropping out of the sky. Maya, what have you gotten yourself into?" Maya blinked. "Wait," she whispered. She slowly turned back to Elias. "Aunt Linda, how did you know he's a billionaire?" Linda's smirk widened. "Because," she said, "everyone in Lagos knows the face of Elias Carter." Maya's breath caught. She whipped around to face him fully, her heart pounding violently. You're that Elias Carter." He held her gaze. And finally, there was no more hiding. "Yes, Maya," he said quietly. "I am." Maya stood as if rooted to the hospital floor, Elias' confession echoing in her ears. He is the Elias Carter, the youngest hotel tycoon in the country, the billionaire everyone watched on TV, the face on magazine covers, the man whose business decisions shook entire industries. And he had been standing beside her, a simple cook, helping her, defending her, comforting her, without ever revealing who he really was. Her chest tightened. "You're really him." Elias nodded slowly. "Yes, I didn't want to overwhelm you earlier." A dozen emotions flashed across her face, confusion, awe, fear, disbelief. "But why?" she whispered. "Why help someone like me?" Before he could respond, a nurse rushed toward them. "She's in surgery. Please wait in the family room." Maya nodded weakly, leaning on the wall for balance. Elias gently guided her to the waiting area. She sat, fingers trembling, eyes unfocused. He sat beside her but kept a respectful distance, giving her room to breathe. For a long time, neither spoke. The sterile smell, the ticking clock, the low hum of the hospital all blended into a heavy silence. Finally, Maya swallowed hard. "Sir, I don't understand any of this. You're a billionaire. You own hotels all over the country, and you're helping me, a cook, without even knowing me." Elias leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. He chose his words carefully. "Maya, money doesn't decide who deserves compassion. You were hurting. Your mother was in danger. I couldn't walk past that and pretend it wasn't happening." "But you're my employer," she whispered. "I work in your kitchen. I burnt food today. I didn't even do my job right." "That doesn't make you less deserving of help," he replied calmly. "People make mistakes. Life overwhelms everyone. You're under more pressure than anyone in that building." She looked down, tears forming again. "I've been carrying everything alone for so long. I'm not used to people caring." He turned to her fully. "Maybe you shouldn't have to carry everything alone anymore." She blinked, confused by the softness in his voice, the sincerity in his eyes. She wanted to ask what he meant, but the words tangled in her throat. Just then, her Aunt Linda strutted into the waiting area with a loud sigh. "Well, I've seen enough drama for the day," Linda announced. "Maya, call me when everything is over. I need to get back home." Maya looked up at her aunt with tired eyes. "You're leaving?" Linda shrugged. "What do you want me to do? Sit here all day? There's nothing I can do about her condition." "But she's your sister," Maya began. Linda rolled her eyes. "And you're her daughter. The responsibility is yours, not mine." Elias' jaw tightened. He wanted to say something sharp, but Maya shook her head slightly, almost pleading with him not to escalate things. Linda smirked smugly, clearly pleased with her escape. "Anyway, you seem to have found yourself a rich helper. Use him well." Her tone was laced with sarcasm. She turned and left without a backward glance. Maya covered her face again, mortified. "I'm so sorry about her. She's never cared about us." "You don't need to apologize for someone else's behavior," Elias said gently. "But she spoke to you so rudely, and she made it sound like Maya shook her head. "I don't want you to think I'm using you." Elias leaned back slightly, his expression softening. "If I thought you were using me, I wouldn't be here." A silence settled between them again, quiet but not cold this time. After a while, a thought crossed Maya's mind, and she looked at him cautiously. "Sir, when you said I still have my job, were you saying that because you felt pity, or because I actually deserve it?" Elias turned to her, fully serious. "Maya, you weren't fired because you were incapable. You were fired because your manager lacked empathy. That's not your fault." She exhaled shakily, relief washing over her. "But," he added gently, "I meant what I said. You'll return to work when you're ready, not under pressure." Maya nodded slowly, absorbing his words. But then another worry hit her. "The hospital bill, you can't pay that for me, sir. It's too much. I don't have any way to repay you." Elias shook his head. "I'm not asking for repayment. I'm not doing this as your employer. I'm doing this as someone who cares." Her breath hitched. "But why would you care about me?" He opened his mouth to answer, but the hospital doors swung open. A doctor approached them. Maya jumped to her feet instantly. "How is she? Is she alive?" The doctor gave a slow nod. "She made it through the initial phase of surgery. She's stable for the moment." Maya burst into tears of relief and covered her mouth to stop herself from sobbing too loudly. "But," the doctor continued, "the next 24 hours will be critical. She's not out of danger yet." Maya's relief froze. He went on, "We've taken her to recovery. She'll be monitored closely. You can see her soon, but she's still unconscious." Maya wiped her tears and nodded. "Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much." The doctor turned to Elias. "And thank you, sir, for approving the payment swiftly." Maya glanced at him, overwhelmed again. "Sir, I don't know how to even begin thanking you." "You don't have to," he said quietly. I'm glad she pulled through. But the doctor wasn't done. One more thing, he said, looking between them. Elias and Maya exchanged confused glances. The hospital requires a next of kin form and a consent document since her mother is in fragile condition. And because you, Maya, listed no immediate relatives aside from your aunt, someone must remain in the hospital with her tonight. Maya nodded. Of course I'll stay. The doctor shifted his gaze to Elias. And sir, since you signed the authorization for her treatment, the hospital staff assumed you might be her legal guardian or family friend. We'll need your signature too. Maya froze. Elias didn't. Where do I sign? He asked calmly. Maya's eyes widened. Sir, no, this is too much. I can't let you stay the night here because of me. You're not making me stay, he replied gently. I'm choosing to. But why go this far? Elias looked at her with an intensity that made her heartbeat unsteady. Because, he said quietly, I don't want you facing any of this alone. Before she could process what he meant, a loud crash echoed from down the hall. Nurses began shouting. Alarms blared. A stretcher raced past them. Maya's heart dropped. On the stretcher was her mother. Maya's scream caught in her throat as she saw her mother being rushed down the corridor, tubes shaking, machines flashing red warnings. What happened? She cried, running after the stretcher. A nurse shouted over her shoulder, She's having complications. We need to stabilize her immediately. Elias sprinted beside Maya, matching her pace even as panic twisted visibly through her whole body. The medical team pushed the stretcher through double doors marked critical care, authorized personnel only. A doctor blocked their path. Please wait here. We'll update you as soon as possible. But that's my mother, Maya sobbed. Please let me. I'm sorry, the doctor said firmly. We need space to work. The doors slammed shut. Maya stumbled backward, tears streaming uncontrollably. She sank to the floor, her hands shaking violently. Elias knelt beside her. Maya, breathe, please just breathe. I can't do this, she cried. It's like every time I think she's safe, something worse happens. Elias put a steady hand on her back. Your mother is in the best place she can be right now. They're doing everything possible. But what if it's not enough, she whispered. What if I lose her tonight? Her voice cracked, fragile and thin. I can't lose her, she's all I have. She raised me alone. She worked day and night just so I could go to school. Her voice broke completely. She doesn't deserve this. Elias' expression softened with something deeper than sympathy. She doesn't, and neither do you. Maya hugged herself tightly, shivering from fear. He hesitated for a moment, then gently guided her up from the cold floor to a nearby bench. Sit, please. She obeyed, though her body trembled. Elias sat beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth of his presence, but not so close as to overwhelm her. After several minutes of silence, Maya's breathing finally began to slow. I don't understand why life keeps taking things from me, she whispered. My dad died when I was little. My mom sacrificed everything. And now I might lose her too. Elias looked down at his hands, as if wrestling with something himself. You're stronger than you think, he finally said. Even when everything falls apart, you stand back up. She let out a bitter laugh. I don't feel strong. That's because you've been fighting alone, he said softly. It's easier to be strong when someone stands beside you. Her eyes lifted to his, unsure, searching. Sir, you don't have to do all of this, she murmured. You don't even know me. I know enough, he replied. I know you're hardworking. I know you care deeply about your mother. I know you pushed yourself until you were exhausted and still showed up to work. That tells me more about your character than anything. She stared at him, stunned by the gentleness in his words. But why does any of that matter to you? She asked. You're a billionaire, you could help anyone. Why me? He hesitated, just long enough to make her heart skip. "Because something told me not to walk away," he said quietly. "I can't explain it yet, but I'm not leaving." Maya blinked rapidly, overwhelmed with emotion she didn't know how to name. Before either could speak again, a nurse approached them. "She's stabilized again," the nurse said, "but her condition is delicate. She'll need constant monitoring. One of you may sit in the waiting area outside her room." Maya stood immediately. "I'll stay the night." The nurse turned to Elias. "Sir, you may stay as well, but visiting hours restrict room entry to family alone." Maya's eyes widened. "Wait, you don't have to stay, it's late." Elias shook his head. "I'm not leaving you here alone." "But sir, you have work and responsibilities." "None of that matters right now." "But—" "Maya," he said gently but firmly, "I'm staying." She swallowed hard. Her chest tightened, not from fear this time, but from the overwhelming unfamiliarity of having someone support her so strongly. They followed the nurse to the recovery area. Maya's mother lay still, machines beeping steadily now. Maya held her mother's hand gently, whispering soft prayers. Elias stood behind her, giving her a moment of privacy. After a while she turned. "Thank you for everything, I mean it." "You don't need to thank me," he replied. "I'm here because I want to be." She lowered her gaze, her cheeks warm. The nurse returned with paperwork. "Maya, we'll need your signature here, and sir, we'll need yours on the payment guarantee." Maya panicked. "I can't let him sign that. I'll find another way." Elias quietly took the pen. "Maya," he said without looking up, "your mother's life comes first." She felt tears welling again, not from fear but from gratitude so deep it scared her. When he finished signing, he handed the clipboard back to the nurse. Maya watched him as though seeing him clearly for the first time, not as a billionaire, not as her boss, but as a man with a heart unexpectedly intertwined with hers. A man who didn't walk away, even when he had every reason to. A man who made her feel safe. "Maya," Elias said softly, drawing her out of her thoughts, "when all of this is over, there's something I want to talk to you about." Her breath caught. "What is it?" He looked like he wanted to tell her right then, his eyes warm, steady, but he stopped himself. "Not now," he said, "when your mother wakes up." She nodded slowly, her curiosity growing. Just then the doctor entered again. "Maya," he asked gently. Her heart lurched. "Yes." "We need to discuss your mother's long-term care plan. There's something important you should know." Maya's stomach dropped. "What is it?" The doctor sighed. "Your mother asked us to inform you. She hasn't been taking all her medications. She's been secretly skipping treatments to save money for your future." Maya's eyes widened in horror. "She what?" The doctor nodded sadly. "She's been sacrificing her health to protect you." Maya burst into tears again, collapsing into the chair. Elias knelt beside her instantly, placing a steady hand over hers. "Maya," he whispered, "you're not going to face this alone anymore, I promise you." She looked at him, shaking, vulnerable, surprised by how much she wanted to believe him. And for the first time she did. Night settled over the hospital like a heavy blanket. Most of the lights were dimmed. Nurses moved quietly through the hallways, and the constant beeping of machines filled the air with a soft, haunting rhythm. Maya sat beside her mother's recovery bed, holding her hand gently. Elias sat in a chair a short distance away, watching over them with a silent, steady presence. The exhaustion on Maya's face was obvious. Her shoulders slumped, eyes half closed, heart weighed down, but she refused to sleep. "Elias," she whispered finally, "you should go home. You've done more than enough." He shook his head. "I'm fine." "You've been here for hours." "So have you," he replied, "and I'm not leaving until your mother wakes up." She glanced at him weakly, a mixture of disbelief and gratitude in her eyes. "You're not obligated to stay." "I know," he said simply, "but I want to." Her chest tightened slightly at his words. She looked away quickly before her emotions overwhelmed her again. For a long stretch, silence settled between them, peaceful, fragile, but warm. Then Maya's mother stirred. Maya bolted upright. "Mom, Mom, can you hear me?" Her mother's eyes fluttered open, slow and heavy. She blinked up at Maya, her lips forming a weak smile. "My baby," she murmured. Maya squeezed her hand, tears of relief filling her eyes. "You're awake. Thank God you're awake." Her mother turned her head slightly, noticing Elias in the background. "And the young man is still here." Maya swallowed. "Yes, he stayed the whole night." Her mother's frail eyes softened even further. "Bless you, son." Elias stood and moved closer, bowing his head respectfully. "I'm glad you're awake, ma'am." Her mother studied him for a moment longer, then looked at Maya with something knowing in her expression. But she said nothing. A doctor entered the room shortly after, checking her vitals. "She's stable. That's good news, but remember, she'll need long-term treatment and consistent medications. She cannot afford to skip them again." Maya nodded solemnly. "I'll make sure she gets everything she needs." Her mother's eyes widened slightly, as though she wanted to protest, but exhaustion pulled her back into sleep. When the doctor left, Maya exhaled deeply. "I don't know how I'm going to manage this. Even with my job back, it won't be enough. I don't want to rely on you for everything." Elias leaned against the wall, crossing his arms gently. "You don't need to figure everything out today." "But I need a plan," she whispered. "I've never wanted to feel helpless. I've never wanted to feel like I'm burdening someone." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Maya, helping you is not a burden. I need you to understand that." Her eyes lifted to his. There was something there, something tender, something patient, something that made her heart beat differently. She turned away quickly. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. "No one has ever stepped into my life this way. You're a billionaire. I'm just," she looked down at her hands, "just a cook." "Don't say that," Elias replied immediately. "You are not just anything. People's titles don't define their worth." She didn't respond. He continued, voice softer now. "Maya, from the moment I saw you crying in that hallway, I knew you didn't deserve the pain you were carrying alone. And every moment since then has only strengthened that feeling." Maya's breath caught, and she turned her face away again, overwhelmed. Just then her phone buzzed. She picked it up hesitantly. It was a message from the hotel staff group chat. "Manager Dalton suspended, effective immediately, investigation ongoing." Another message followed. "Kitchen staff meeting tomorrow, attendance mandatory." Maya stared at the screen in shock. "Dalton is suspended," she whispered. Elias nodded calmly. "I sent the order earlier." Maya looked at him, eyes wide. "But why because of me?" "Because of his lack of compassion and unprofessional behavior," Elias replied firmly. "No employee under my company should be treated like that." She sank back in her chair, speechless. After a few moments, she whispered, "I feel like everything is changing too fast." Elias offered a small nod. Sometimes life changes quickly in the right direction, too. Before she could respond, a nurse entered. "Visiting hours are ending soon, but one family member may remain overnight." Maya stood to speak, but Elias gently touched her arm. "You should stay," he said softly. "Your mother needs you more than anything right now." "Yes," Maya agreed quietly, "but what about you?" He smiled faintly. "I'll stay in the waiting room outside. I'm not going far." She hesitated. "Elias, thank you for everything." He held her gaze for a long moment. "You don't need to thank me. I'm here because I want to be." A warm silence lingered between them, filled with emotions neither had the courage to voice yet. When the nurse stepped out, Maya's mother stirred again, whispering faintly. "Maya, come closer." Maya leaned down. "Yes, Mom." Her mother's fingers brushed Maya's cheek. "That young man, he cares, I can see it. Don't push him away." Maya's breath trembled. "Mom." Her mother smiled weakly, eyes fluttering. "Let your heart rest too. You've carried so much alone." Then she drifted back to sleep. Maya stood frozen, heart pounding. She turned to Elias slowly, finding him watching her from the doorway, quiet, steady, waiting. Everything inside her twisted, with a mixture of fear and hope. She stepped toward him, stopping just inches away. "Elias," she whispered, voice trembling, "what is it you wanted to talk to me about?" Once she woke up. He exhaled slowly, as though steadying himself. "I wanted to tell you," he said carefully, "that helping you these past days hasn't felt like charity. It hasn't felt like obligation. It has felt right." Maya swallowed hard. "Why?" His gaze softened, deep and warm. "Because somewhere along the way I started caring about you, more than I expected, more than I planned." Her lips parted slightly in shock. He continued, "And when your mother is well, and when you're ready, there's something important I want to ask you." Her heart hammered. "What do you want to ask me?" He took a slow breath. But before he could answer, the hospital intercom beeped loudly. "Code Blue, Recovery Room 3, Code Blue." Maya gasped. "That's my mother's room." Her world spun again as she ran toward the door. Elias sprinted beside her. And once again, everything hung in the balance. The moment Maya heard the intercom call, "Code Blue, Recovery Room 3, her legs moved faster than her mind could process. She sprinted down the hallway, heart pounding so loudly she could barely hear anything else. "Mom, please, no, please," she cried as she ran. Elias stayed close behind her, matching her speed, his own chest tight with panic. They reached the room just as doctors and nurses rushed in, machines screaming with warning tones. Maya tried to enter, but a nurse stopped her firmly. "Please stay back. We're trying to bring her back." Maya broke down instantly. "No, she just woke up. She just spoke to me. She can't leave me now." Elias wrapped his arms around her shoulders to keep her from collapsing, holding her tightly as her entire world threatened to fall apart again. Inside the room, the medical team worked frantically. They performed chest compressions, administered injections, called out medical terms Maya didn't understand. Every second felt like an hour. Maya sobbed violently into Elias' chest. "I can't lose her, I can't." "I know," he murmured, holding her. "I know." Through the window, Maya saw a nurse place oxygen over her mother's face, while another doctor shook his head slightly. "No," Maya whispered. "Please don't stop, please keep trying." But then, the machine slowed. The frantic movement of the medical team steadied. A long, heavy silence weighed in the air. The doctor nearest the window glanced toward Maya and gave the slightest shake of his head. Maya felt her knees give way. "No, no, no," she screamed as Elias lowered her carefully to the floor, holding her as she shattered in his arms. For several minutes, Maya cried with a grief so raw it silenced everyone around her. Nurses turned away respectfully. Even the doctor paused, his expression solemn and compassionate. A few moments later, the doctor stepped out and knelt beside her. "I'm so sorry," he said softly. "We did everything we could. She fought as long as she could. Her heart simply couldn't keep going." Maya shook her head repeatedly, tears falling endlessly. She didn't deserve this. She didn't deserve to leave like this. Elias tightened his hold, whispering words only she could hear, comfort, strength, presence. But no words could erase grief. They could only soften the edges of the moment. After what felt like hours, Maya finally lifted her face from his chest, tear-streaked, exhausted, trembling. "I have no one now," she whispered. "I'm completely alone in this world." Elias cupped her face gently, forcing her to look at him. "You're not alone," he said, "not anymore." The sincerity in his eyes pierced through her darkness, anchoring her to something steady. They sat there in silence until the doctor returned with paperwork. "You'll have to make some decisions," he said softly, "but there is no rush. Take as long as you need." Maya nodded weakly. Elias stood and helped her to her feet, keeping an arm around her shoulders. She leaned into him because she didn't know how to stand on her own at that moment. They stepped into a quiet family consultation room. Maya wiped her face, trying to steady her breathing, but the grief kept coming in waves. "You don't have to hold it in," Elias whispered. She sank into a chair and cried again, slower, softer this time, not with panic but with heartbreak. When she finally managed to speak, her voice was barely audible. "She sacrificed everything for me, and I couldn't even save her." Elias knelt in front of her. "Maya, you gave her everything you could. You worked day and night. You fought for her. She knew you loved her. That matters more than anything." Maya shook her head. "I wish she stayed long enough to see my life get better, to see me happy." A long silence followed. Then Elias reached for her hands. "Maya," he said gently, "there is something your mother understood, something I think you're beginning to see too." She looked at him through blurry eyes. "From the moment I saw you in that hotel hallway, something in me changed. I wanted to protect you. I wanted to erase every burden you carried. Every day since then has only confirmed how deeply I care about you." Maya blinked in surprise. "I didn't help you because I felt sorry for you," he continued. "I helped you because I care, truly care about you, and I want to be part of your life. Not just today, not just through this crisis, but every day going forward if you'll let me." Her breath hitched. "Elias, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything today," he whispered. "But I want you to know that I'm not leaving. I'm here for as long as you'll have me." Maya covered her mouth as fresh tears spilled, not of grief this time, but of disbelief in something softer, something warmer. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Her eyes widened. "Elias, what is that?" He opened it slowly. Inside was a simple gold ring, elegant, timeless, meaningful. "I know you're hurting," he said gently, "and I know today is not the day for grand celebrations. But Maya, your mother saw it, I saw it, and I hope one day you will see it too." He took a slow, steady breath. "I love you, and when your heart is ready, whenever that is, I want to marry you." Maya gasped, covering her heart with both hands. "This isn't a proposal I expect you to answer today," he continued softly. "It's a promise that you will never have to face life alone again." A tear slipped down Maya's cheek, not from pain, but from overwhelming gratitude and love blooming slowly through the cracks of her broken heart. She placed her hand over his. "Elias, I don't know when I'll be ready," she whispered. "But I think my mother would have wanted this. She would have wanted me to find someone who cares, someone who stays." Elias smiled softly. "Then I'll stay, for as long as it takes." Weeks passed. Maya buried her mother with gentle dignity, with Elias standing beside her the entire time. He covered every cost quietly, respectfully, never making her feel small. She returned to work at the hotel, not as the fragile cook they once dismissed, but as a woman stepping into a new chapter, one filled with unexpected love. And one afternoon, as she chopped vegetables in the kitchen, someone tapped her shoulder. She turned. Elias stood there, a bouquet of white roses in hand. "You ready for that walk we talked about?" he asked softly. Maya smiled genuinely, fully, for the first time in weeks. "Yes," she whispered, "I think I am." They walked out of the hotel together. Not billionaire and cook. Not boss and employee. But two hearts healing together. And growing toward a future neither of them expected. A year later, they stood at the altar, Maya glowing in a beautiful gown, Elias looking at her like she was the only person on earth. And as they exchanged vows, Maya knew. Her mother's last wish had come true. She was no longer alone. She was loved, she was home.